We'll begin with Ross Hunter.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming, for listening to us natter our way up here. It's a beautiful night, and you're giving up your barbecue. I appreciate it. You're hiring an executive. We're all environmentalists. You're hiring someone that you think brings the management expertise. I was a general manager at Microsoft before I ran for the legislature. You're trying to hire someone who can make a difference, who can make changes in the world. I led the fight this year to change the definition of basic education to something that was more modern. Now, that's not an environmental issue, but it's a monumental change in how we will fund education over the next 30 years. And I'm someone who can bring that level of change to the system. But you're also looking for someone who understands how things are wired together and can build the consensus to make that happen. We as a region need to wire together our land use planning, our transportation planning, and we need to have a relationship with the cities that allows them to cooperate with each other. Today, and for the last 10 to 20 years, the county has consistently built policy and done implementation that makes the cities not want to cooperate with the county. You see it in many, many, many issues. It makes everything that we do much more expensive for the taxpayer, and that means there is much less money available to do the things that we really want to do. I think you need a fresh voice on the county, a fresh set of eyes, someone with management experience who can come in and can run this $5 billion operation. I bring that to you, and I'd like to ask for your vote as your next King County executive. Thank you.
Larry Phillips.
You know, I've always considered it a privilege to have drawn my first breath in this county, to grow up here and to have an opportunity to go to school here, to swim in the waters of Lake Washington, to sail the waters of Puget Sound as an Eagle Scout, to hike and camp and fish in the foothills of the Cascades. I'm passionate about this place that we all call home. Working on environmental issues and conservation issues is the hallmark of my career to this date. I hope to be able to continue that, to leave with you a legacy for future generations. But you know, being passionate about these issues isn't enough. If we're really going to make a difference, you have to look for somebody who can be effective. I've been effective on the environment as a staffer, as a member of the state legislature, as a county council member, and I will be as your county executive. It is my paramount commitment to you to make sure that these issues are addressed. But most importantly, what you have to see here tonight in terms of a distinction between the candidates is someone who has executive experience in both the public and the private sector. I was the chief of staff to County Executive Ravel. I was in the room when all the tough decisions were made, when the blueprint essentially for the State's Growth Management Act was drawn up and passed by the County Council in 1985. The first attempt to do land use planning in King County in a coherent manner. I had an opportunity to go to Olympia and make the changes that I talked about. But I also had a chance to work in the private sector as executive director for Shiloh, Broome, Gates, and Lucas, holding people accountable, hiring good people, holding them accountable to get the job done as an executive is what you're going to need. These challenges are very serious for each and every one of us that are here this evening. And taking on a large agenda and moving it forward and getting something done is what executive experience, that's when executive experience matters, and that's what I bring to you, the difference here. Effective leadership, leadership that you can trust, change for the future that you can count on through effective leadership and effective executive leadership.
Fred Jarrett.
So I have a confession to make. I grew up on Mercer Island, but I was born in Montana. And I was a Cub Scout dropout because my mother thought I should be in 4-H. Head, hearts, hands, health to make the best better. And if someone would ask me afterwards, I'd be glad to tell you the story of the deviled eggs. But the reason that I'm here and the reason that I care about government is because I want to see government work. And it's not just government for the environment, but it's all of government. We have spent too many years believing that government, or saying that government was the problem. Government has problems, but those problems can be solved, and good government makes a good place to live. I like living here. I've enjoyed it. I've stayed my entire life in this region. And I've devoted a lot of my life to public service. 30 years. I served on a city council. I served on a school board. I was a mayor. I've served on all of the major regional bodies representing the suburbs, and I've served a decade in the legislature. I understand government. But at the same time, I've spent 35 years in management at Boeing, and I understand the private sector, and I understand an organization that was behind the times, that in fact needed to change. And I was a part of the effort to change that organization. In fact, when I was mayor, we made the same kinds of changes at the city of Mercer Island, and we significantly improved the work that we could do in the environment and the work that we could do for our city citizens, both in terms of the cost and the quality of what we did. In fact, what we did at Boeing followed some of the things that we pioneered at the city of Mercer Island. So I know how to work to change an organization, and I think we all agree that King County is an organization that needs to change. And it needs to change so that it can do the things that we need to do for our children and for our grandchildren. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you, Fred. And we'll close with Dow Constantine.
Well, thank you all for being here tonight and for your commitment to the environment. I'm happy to be here in this beautiful church that was saved by some good folks. I got to work on saving the church just down the street on 5th Avenue recently. I believe that there's a connection between this and the environment. Folks care about the place. They care about preserving what's best about it. Having been raised here, I've been very distressed about a lot of the things I've seen as our natural systems have been degraded, as the sprawl has reached out over the countryside. And the passion that I have for environmental protection comes from that life experience. You know, when I was a kid, my parents are retired teachers. My grandfather was a saw filer in the mills of Everett, and even as a single income saw filer, he was able to build a little cabin on Port Susan Bay for his family. And I spent my summers there bobbing around in the water. And when I was a kid, Atlantic Richfield Company, a global oil company, came and said they wanted to build a huge oil port and refinery there at Port Susan. And my grandparents' community rallied, and they fought, and they petitioned their county commission, and they won. And today, instead of an oil port, there's a beautiful county park there. That was a lesson in life for me. I've been standing up and fighting, as I have on Maury, as I have on growth management here in King County, ever since. Because I believe that there is a tremendous amount at stake. And not only can we stop the degradation, but we can reverse it. We have the ability, the ingenuity, the wealth to be able to fix this place. We all value the natural environment. I beg of you, look at who's supporting whom in this race. I'm proud that the Sierra Club and Cascade Bicycle Club have looked at my record, not just my words, and said, this is the candidate we want to support. I ask for your support as well. Thank you.
Thank you.